Okay, channel, so good evening, welcome to my channel again. I don't know how to say hello, huh? Incredible. So, today's topic is gonna be psychological validation. One day I'm gonna improve my calligraphy. Or never, perhaps. Perhaps honoring the truth. So, if you saw my previous video, I've been uploading some great short videos about Daniel Kahneman, which is a Nobel Prize in economics, and I would say he's a Nobel Prize in psychology, despite that prize still doesn't exist. So what he did was a lot of discoveries on the psychology area, so he ended up earning the Nobel Prize in economics. And he studied very interesting words like heuristics and many other important psychological terms, or two ways of thinking. Perhaps there's more way of thinking, but he simplifies. And he talks about system 1 and system 2, and how people is extremely racist on one side, and in the other side they might not be racist because they are analytical, but then they think they are not racist, but actually they are. He doesn't speak about racism, of course, he speaks about decision taking. But what I'm trying to say, many people say, oh, I'm not racist. Okay, maybe when you're in system 2, but if we observe you in system 1, when you take decisions very quickly, that part of you comes out. Because it's very hard to change that system. It's very instinctive. It's based completely on heuristics instead of analysis. Heuristics are like mental shortcuts, are like proverbs. It's like small ways, tiny and short ways of wisdom, right? But today we're going to talk about psychological validation, which is a very interesting term that lately I have been thinking a lot about. And before starting, I just want to recommend a book which I have been reading, which is The Art of Short Selling from Catherine F. Stelly. I think this book he was reading with other person too. Okay, so The Art of Short Selling is an excellent book. It was recommended by one of my mentors in the area of investing, he is a great short seller. My opinion about the book so far is that it's very good. It's very nice. The ideas are very valuable, and it's very contagious. You know, it's teaching you how to think like a short seller, right? For example, it was talking about how companies have a stage where the product is getting in the shelves, and then that's the point when the stock reaches the highest price, right? And as my mentor said, you know, in some point, you know, the stock is reaching the peak of the mountain, and it gets kicked a couple miles down. You know, it never reaches the bottom of the mountain, but it's normal that this movement happen, right? And out of that, the book sometimes have many oversimplifications, which, you know, sometimes the truth is not simple. And this book, it has like many oversimplifications, which aren't 100% truth, but it's good. It provides good ideas. So going back to the subject of the video, psychological validation. This term is very interesting because it helps us to understand how the world out there is full of lies and conflicts of interest and people that's lying to each other. And this is very confusing and produces enormous suffering, especially, for example, to guys like me that I want to find the truth. I want to find what's the best, you know. And for example, if we think about my career choices, sometimes I wonder if what I choose is the best possible decision I could take, right? Perhaps it's not, you know. However, psychological validation applies to that a lot because we look for this constantly. As human beings, I won't say we're addict to this feeling, but we're constantly looking for it. So let's imagine an example. You studied for 3-4 years, you suffered a lot, you became a very successful software engineer, you're making $400,000 a year. So you want to go into a meeting with somebody that will clap at you and tell you that you're a genius because you decided to be that, or a doctor, and he's going to give you psychological validation. What's the meaning of that? That you feel validated. That is telling you that you're right even when you are wrong. Perhaps by that moment you will end up doing millions of dollars only by focusing on the stock markets instead of spending all that money on becoming a software engineer. Okay? And perhaps that's the truth. However, what I'm doing right now, which could gain me many enemies, is saying the truth to you. And sometimes the truth is not psychologically validating. You're not validating people. So it's hard to make friends. It's very hard to make friends when you're not validating people. People is all the time looking for people who can validate their decisions, validate their career choices. Okay? And let's separate this. Validate is not the same that respecting people, that appreciating them, saying that they are valuable, which is true. But psychological validation is like manipulation. When you try to be friends with people and make them feel perfect and feed their ego, right? Which is another way of lying. I'm sorry, but it's lying. It's not the truth. But if you want to make friends, sometimes this tool is very useful. You are just validating people. You make them feel special. You make them feel like they took the right choices despite they could have taken better choices, right? Despite that perhaps in the past they had someone in front of them proposing a better path, but they didn't listen, right? And even when it was obvious, right? But yeah, this is a very interesting term, psychological validation. Out there we have so many salesmen, the lying type, which I don't like, because a good negotiator understands that lying doesn't take you to win customers, sometimes quite the opposite. You have this world full of people that's psychologically validating you. Even many psychologists, you have different types of psychologists. Some are very manipulative. They make you feel all right. They make you feel good. They lie to you. They manipulate you. Then you have other coaches, other psychologists, other truth tellers, which are harsh with you and tell you what's the truth, where you're making mistakes. And perhaps that process is healing. That's a big question. Is saying the truth healing? Truth. That's something we're talking about today. The truth. Stop lying. And stop creating a world so full of lies. Where labor division is based on how naive people is. Instead of people that understand market conditions, understand what's profitable, and then they negotiate how we divide jobs. Instead of that, we have a world full of lies and talents, and people fall in their place unless they wake up and they change that, right? Of course, they suffer the consequences after that. But okay, psychological validation is a very interesting term, and it's very interesting to understand how people is looking for it all the time. All the time they want to be validated. They want to have somebody, not that appreciates them, more than that they feed their ego. They make them feel superior, even when they make mistakes. Okay? And, ego is a big problem. Many religions, especially Buddhism, talk a lot about ego and the problem that it causes. And that's the video for today. I thought that term was very interesting, psychological validation, and how all the time people is looking for it, and why there's so many lies out there, so many people lying out there, validating this customer, that customer, this friend, this person they're trying to manipulate, this and that. It's such a world of lies. And if people don't wake up and don't stop appreciating the truth, Jesus Christ became very famous because he said, and you will know the truth, and the truth will set you free. And of course, in this world so full of sin and lies, he became so famous because he was talking about truth and how people lie to each other so much. Okay, so thank you for watching. I hope you liked the video and good night. Okay, have a great day. Well, great week, I guess. I go to sleep now.